Well, there are many people in the Tesla community who we from time to time will pick on, but there's nobody that we like to pick on more than Gary Black. So today
Oh, I
we're
thought it was
gonna
going to be me.
no, no, I've never picked on you, Brian. Are you kidding me?
Mm.
Not in public. So Gary Black says today, he says, we view Elon's announcement that he will return 24/7 to the Tesla and X and XAI as a non-event, since it won't likely change Tesla's declining delivery trajectory. And you say,
Love it. I love it. I love it. I thought I was the only comedian in the space. That's wonderful. That's great. Will it change the trajectory? So, fun fact, Elon doesn't assemble cars himself. I I don't know who needs to hear this. Apparently, at least one person. But he is the driving force. He's the visionary. And I've seen a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't invest unless he left the company. And I say, really, would you? And they go, well, no, he'd have to divest as well. Okay, so it's not about Tesla, it's about Elon. I got it. But I've seen far more people who said, if Elon left the company, I would be inclined to sell my shares. Uh, the you could have it is entirely possible that if Elon departed today or passed away for some reason, if he did a Steve Jobs,
right,
Steve Jobs was the visionary.
right.
When he left, when he passed, I would have sold my shares and lost money because I was just sure that that was the end of an era. And it was, but it was the beginning of a different era, the era that is not vision, but just execution. And the problem is Steve Jobs' roadmap has kind of run its course. And now Apple is kind of rudderless. They're still a cash producing juggernaut, but they're a different kind of company. Um, Now, if Elon were to step back to like chief technology officer, that could be perhaps a better role. I don't know. And anyone who says they know how CEOs, how the C-suite functions are almost entirely lying because they don't. And Tesla is a different kind of company. Well, Tesla's continued declining sales. Hey, did you know what I think would help with declining sales is the introduction of like a new robotaxi or something, or maybe a new affordable model or two. But of course, those aren't on the roadmap, are they? They are. They are. And it's another example of Wall Street types trying to drive forward by looking exclusively in the rearview mirror. They missed Megapack revenue because they only look in the rearview mirror. 2, 3 years ago, I asked Matt Smith, currently a Rebellionaire at the time from Good Soil Investments. I asked him, when is Wall Street going to start modeling for Megapack revenue? Because it's already there, it's already real. He said, not until it becomes so consequential that they can no longer ignore it. And sure enough, 3 months, 6 months later, big announcement, we're going to start including that in our valuation model. What you missed it. How? How on earth can everyday folks like you and me catch it when Wall Street guys are just absolutely blind? And the answer is they lack vision. If those fund managers had vision, they would look forward. And as much as I love Gary, and I do love Gary, I can look at his fund's performance and say, I'm not going to take financial advice from you.
All right. So let's look at it another way. Elon Musk, famously runs, I think it's down to 6 companies now because he merged X and XAI. Within those companies, I would say there's about 20 divisions. So 6 plus 20, anyway, however you want to count it, it's a lot of different moving parts. And then, of course, he was involved in the politics of MAGA and also the Doge. So that would have made, I don't know, 28 or 29. I'm losing count here of the different things that he was trying to do simultaneously. And people say, no big deal for Elon. He can do all of those things because it's Elon and he works, you know, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And nobody understands how important that is. And Elon has mentioned that it's very, very important. However, I'm going to set it up this way. Um, I always consider myself to be a very itty, tiny, 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 tiny Elon because I've had multiple companies and I've had multiple divisions and I've all this stuff when I've been running companies. And I know that I can manage all of those at a time because I have people set up to manage all those different things. But I do know that from time to time, I've shifted my focus. One division got the focus, another division got the focus, accounts receivable got the focus, cash flow got the focus, sales got the focus. There was the focus changed. So, what do we think in terms of the brain that we know, the big brain of Elon, that if he decided to focus on increasing unit sales, assuming that was the thing that was important to him, if he decided to focus on unit sales, do you think unit sales would go up?
Hmm. Boy, it's anyone's guess, according to apparently some Wall Street analysts. Uh, if that is your singular focus, you will make it happen. I made a video probably 3 or 4 years ago about demand levers. I said there are countless demand levers, and in the intervening years, we've seen all of them pulled at different times. FSD transfer can be a good one. New colors can be a new one. New models can be a new one. Uh, Low financing rates can be one. The trick is that we've got a bunch of them already pulled, and there are externalities that can diminish sales. Things like, well, high interest rates you can counter manually by just paying down the rate, but things like a lagging economy or um, a lack of consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is a big one. It doesn't matter if the economy is good or bad. If people are concerned about the economy, that is just as bad as it being a bad economy in many ways.
Right.
So, to the point of him having the 20 divisions, I don't count that. We got to meet the heads of the 20 divisions, however many divisions it is. They are all brilliant, capable people. I'm confident that they are doing the jobs that Elon would have to do if they weren't there. They are there. I don't worry about that. I would say Tesla should be a full-time job. SpaceX probably is a full-time job. Boring Company, not so much. Uh, Neuralink, not so much. Doge was definitely a full-time job. When someone tells me that I've met people, oh, I have 7 jobs. What I hear them say is they have no jobs because you can't focus on 7 things. That's too many jobs. What you have is 7 things that give you money sometimes. That's too many jobs. Uh, Even 2 full-time jobs can be too much for a person without a substantial support system in place to handle. Now, if I had 2 companies come to me and say, we'll each give you $250,000 a year, but you have to be full time for both companies, I could do it because then I would hire, you know, uh, 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 I would hire people to handle the things that make 2 jobs impossible. I would have a maid, a nanny, or whatever it might be. In his case, a jet, so that he can move around and continue working while he does it. Those hours on the jet are not lost hours. Those are work hours. Those are productive or rest or whatever he needs them to be. Those are his meal hours. I would purchase some garden shears to cut my own hair. He's done that as well. So think of all the time you're saving. So it's, it is a little frustrating for some of his employees, I'm sure, who have been let go for choosing remote work when he's never there. If he can do it, can't he trust his people to do it? That's not for me to say. I know that if I were a much younger man, I would love to work for one of these companies and I would expect to be on site more than 40 hours because you're part of something huge and exciting and fantastic. I'm confident if I were to be hired, I don't know how long I'd last because I just don't have that young man energy anymore.
So I think it was about 9 or 10, 11 months ago. I forget exactly when. Maybe it was even shorter time ago than that. Elon had an issue because the maximum number of CPUs that you could string together was 31, I think it was, or GPUs. You could only put 31 GPUs in a cluster where they would speak to each other in almost immediate time. And that was the rule. Everybody in the industry said that's the most you can do. And so he focused his attention for a short period of time. He said, this is according to him, this is the way he described it. He focused on the issue for a short period of time. And all of a sudden, he was able to put 100,000 of these into one cluster, and now apparently maybe an unlimited number of these into one cluster. And everybody else is still stuck at 31. So this is kind of the thing I'm talking about with regard to the kind of focus that Elon brings, the kind of unique individual that he is. I think there's a lot of people like Elon, but nobody quite like Elon when it comes to being able to contemplate the issue and rapidly come to some conclusions about what might be the right step forward. Now, a step forward might be, I don't care right now about my unit sales. I only care about Robotaxi. But if you really want to get unit sales up, I just feel like 5 minutes of focus might actually do the trick.
Well, it's not just the focus. I'm sure if you went to anyone in the factory and said, give me 10 ways we can increase volume, I'm sure that stack of suggestions already exists. The difference between him and all those employees is he has the power to make them happen. He is the executive. He gets to execute on the plan. For some people, it would be, like I said, free FSD transfer. That would move some units today, especially if you want to not have to pay for upgrades on hardware 3, which may become an eventuality. The more cars that you get out of the hands of original owners with FSD, because if you sell your hardware 3 car with FSD, it still has FSD unless you sell it to Tesla or unless you take that FSD with you.
Right.
So either of those would remove it from that. And then if those people want that upgrade, they can pay for it. Or Tesla can say, too busy, don't have time to do all the retrofits. So those are just some of the ways. If there are people who are waiting for a new incentive to drop, I'm hoping that the Cybertruck has some more price drops. I'm hoping we do see a $50,000 rear wheel drive version. I know that there are people, especially business buyers, for whom the dollars don't make sense right now. It's all about the dollars. And the more you can cut the price, the better it's going to go. We're seeing sales of other brands doing just okay, despite massive price cuts. I think you can get an Equinox for like 33,000 now, which is insane. It's a heck of a bargain if you don't care about autonomy or public charging. I feel like those are one of those two should be important to you, but who knows?
I would stop picking on Gary, but he makes it too easy because he's out there. And so Gary, if you're gonna post these things, then sometimes we're gonna respond. He says, we remain concerned the new, more affordable Tesla Model Q out in third quarter. Why third quarter? I thought it was going to be second quarter. Anyway, will be a scaled down Model 3 or Model Y that is not a new form factor and therefore will not increase the Tesla TAM. Are you hearing anything at all about the Model Q? And do you agree with Gary that it matters whether it's a scaled down Model 3 or Y, or whether it needs to have a significant new form factor in order to increase the TAM?
I think a new form factor would increase the TAM substantially. I think a decontented 3 or Y would increase the TAM marginally. So I understand his reasoning and I share it in part, but he's making very big assumptions based on absolutely no information. And I've seen the people he follows. They're not the best people to be following necessarily. Some of them are. There are some glaring omissions from his follower list that would make him less wrong. I know there was one quarter where Gary was the most wrong on delivery projections. And the reason why was because he had used Troy Teslaike's 1 week old number. And Troy Teslaike was the second most wrong. So the two most wrong were both using Troy's numbers. Just one of them was more out of date. It doesn't matter if Wall Street guys are right or wrong. It matters how many customers they have. It's like when I see these infomercials back in the 90s saying, it's so easy to make money. I can show you how to do it. Just buy my VHS tapes or books or whatever it might be. But the reality is, if you were actually making all that money, you wouldn't be selling VHS tapes. This is how you make the money. That was the big scam with Amway. I don't know how many people were allowed to find out this information, but all those super mega rich people didn't get mega rich selling soap. They got rich selling the tapes about how to sell the soap. And it's pretty shameless and embarrassing if you zoom out enough to see it. So Gary's job is not to be right. Gary's job is to have customers. Gary has customers, which, you know, being right doesn't buy him, a new car. Having customers buys him a new car.
So let's just one more time on the Gary story. Of course, Gary is a true believer in the camp that thinks that Tesla will not be a huge winner in the autonomous space.
Wow.
He has famously said on my channel when I had him on one day that my estimate of 25% of the total worldwide market share was too high. So he is pitting his expertise against, let's see, Elon Musk, who says that Tesla will get 90% of the automated rideshare. Kathy Wood says it'll be 50% of the automated rideshare, and Jensen Huang, who says that Tesla has a huge lead in the autonomous rideshare business. So where do you fall in that scheme? 25, 50, 90, huge lead? Everybody's going to be all the same, and maybe Tesla will get a piece of that.
Well, I'll give you real numbers and you can do with this what you want. I think it's going to be between umpteen and a cajillion. No, no, but I think anything over 50% would require a a confluence of events that's very unlikely. I think it would require all the competitors globally to stumble at the same time in catastrophic ways. I think 25 to 50 is possible. And the only thing that would hold that back is overcharging. I know Chinese rivals would be eager to work to sell their products, to offer their services at a fraction of the margin that Tesla and Tesla shareholders expect. Even getting 20% is not something you and I get excited about on rideshare. We're looking at 100, 200% margins. So I think that it's, uh, I think greed is what would keep us under 25%. But there are too many competitors to say 90% globally. The Chinese companies are working very, very aggressively. They're all taking slightly different approaches. If any one approach is wrong, better hope it's not the one that we're in, because if you're only counting on one of them working, um, your odds of being wrong go way up. So yeah, it's 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 going to be very competitive, and the real winner in that equation is going to be the customers.
Yeah. Now, on a completely different subject, and Gary Black doesn't have a dog in this hunt, we are hearing that there might be trouble in Corpus Christi, not enough water. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's reporting that Elon has now said that, I'm sorry, Elon has said a year ago or longer that he can desalinate seawater as cheaply as processing fresh water. And now we're hearing rumors that he's going to build a desalination plant next to Corpus Christi. And have you heard anything on that, or am I just giving you something that you're completely hearing it from me? It's news to you today.
Brand new information. Brand new information. Uh, that's a very bold claim. I'd be deeply skeptical of anyone making that claim, including Elon. I don't know how. I mean, if that's the case, you need to open a desalination division and begin selling these worldwide, because you're going to have so much money you won't be able to count it. Um, I'd put that in the same camp as the miracle Toyota battery that costs a fraction as much, charges in a fraction of the time, has higher energy density, lower cost, lower weight. And if any of that was true, Toyota would cease to be a car company. They would become the world's largest seller
Battery
of
company.
miracle batteries instantly. But here we are, 3 years, 5 years, 12 years later, and Toyota hasn't put them in a car yet because I hasten to point out they don't exist. Uh, so if that's true, that'd be great. The water issue is serious and problematic. The amount of water expected to be required by this lithium refinery is substantial and unavailable. So I don't know where they're going to get it. I hope that the plan is in place and effective.
Yeah, so according to the rumor, the desalinization plant will take about 9 months to execute, and that it might seriously delay the actual full productive capacity of Corpus Christi. I do know, just to add to this, while I'm thinking about it, is that the theory that Elon is acting on is that this would require solar energy and megapacks. So, and that the number one component of desalinization, of course, is the energy input. And so by using solar and megapacks, you could get the energy input down to pretty close to zero over time. And therefore would be able to, the rest of the requirements are only seawater and the equipment that is actually doing the desalinization. So I think that's if I remember, and like I say, it's probably been a year since I saw Elon's commentary on this. But at the time, I agreed with you. I thought, gee, if you've got this capability, why wouldn't you do it? Maybe this will give them an opportunity to create a first out plant, which then could become a very, very important additional division.
Well, if you're buying the solar panels and installing the solar panels, that power isn't free. It's power you could have sold to the grid. It has a cost either way. My concern is seawater. I don't know, man. It's not like we have oceans of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. My last thought for the day is you've seen the Optimus videos from last week, I'm sure. I'm sure you've also watched a bunch of the commentary around those videos. What are you thinking right now? What did you think? Just the, top of the mind thoughts about Optimus after having seen the latest updates.
I think we still didn't see the latest. We saw the latest that they're willing to show us. I think what we saw is a generation out of date. And uh, all the it's the I'm going to argue with you by pointing out all these gaps, but the gaps keep closing. So what do I? Well, I'll argue the other gaps, guys. The gaps are closing. You can try and reframe it all you want. I appreciate that you put your goalposts on wheels and motorize them for easier relocation, but there's only so much you can move the goalpost. Well, yeah, it can now walk the way I need it to and move the way I need it to, but it's too slow by half. Great. You know it works twice as long as you, right? A lot of tasks are not that specific to speed, and a lot of tasks are performed slowly. I was in a show with Dr. Know-It-All coming up where we were discussing robots, and I said, if you look at a warehouse where you've got pickers who run around and fill orders, put them on pallet jacks or carts or whatever it may be, some of them really hustle. And not all employees can move that fast. So you don't put that employee in the role of picking. You put them in a different job, a job that's just as valuable, maybe even more valuable, that doesn't utilize the same physical speed, the same amount of kinetic energy. There are different jobs. And if you had an employee who said, look, I walk really slow, but you can pay me half what you pay someone else, I think an employer would say, yeah, you know what? Sure, I'll accommodate you. I can accommodate you. Instead of paying you 20 bucks an hour, I'll give you 10. I can do that. Are you sure? Yeah, totally fine with it. I just need to, walk at a slower pace because of whatever reason. Um, so uh, the bots are going to happen. They're going to happen. And if you say that Tesla's engineers aren't bright enough, I would say, great. If you really believe that, there's 100 other companies. Are none of them bright enough? Do all of them have the wrong approach? Or is it just you that's wrong? So if this was one company plowing ahead on their own, I could see deep skepticism, but it's not. It's everybody. So I'm confident it's happening.
Yeah, Scott Walter was on with
Herbert?
Herbert the other day, and he says that he can't absolutely confirm it. He says but he can almost 100%. He said he was within this amount of confirming that they are now able to walk at full human speed, and that the other actions that they're taking now, the turning actions and the arm speed and whatnot, seem to also be at human speed. So I think that'll be one more of those gaps that you're talking about closed.
Closed. And I saw somebody had posted that video on Reddit, and somebody said, "Oh, an hour and 7 minutes. Can somebody give me a summary? I can't watch that." And a guy responded, "Oh, you don't like watching Longer with Herbert?"
Longer with her. Okay, well, we now, we added Herbert to our joke, our joke routines for today. And I'm going to be on his spaces tomorrow,
Oh,
so
nice.
he'll have a chance to get back. No, he won't, because this will be on after that
Oh,
on
that's true.
Tuesday. So good. Yeah,
Dodged a bullet.
dodged another bullet. Brian. Everybody should follow you on Futuraza. They might even consider paying Brian for his information. Yeah, you can actually go on Patreon or on his YouTube channel, and there's ways that you can actually send him money, because he actually has expenses. I don't have any expenses. I want you to join Patreon on my behalf as well. But Brian goes out and spends money on your behalf to go to Mexico and Chattanooga and China and Michigan and all kinds of places. And that all costs money because these people don't pay him to do it, sadly. So, that's a possibility that you might consider. Brian, thank you so much for coming on Tuesdays. I don't pay you either, but but it's been great talking to you and to all of you out there.